Law number 13, the law of reproduction. The law of reproduction says we teach what we know, but we reproduce what we are. And I'm going to talk to you in this law about reproducing what you are. Now, isn't this interesting? This is a cousin. The law of reproduction is a cousin to the law of magnetism. Remember, the law of magnetism says who you are is who you attract. Now we're saying in the law of reproduction, it takes a leader to raise up a leader. Now, the law of magnetism is kind of like the front end. The law of magnetism says, here's how you draw potential leaders to you. The law of reproduction is the back end. The law of reproduction says, once you've drawn these potential leaders, here's how you develop these potential leaders. We're going to begin talking now, and as you go through the laws of leadership with me, one of the things you're going to realize is that as we get closer to the end of the laws, we get more into reproducing ourselves. The first laws deal with how do I develop myself and how do I become the person I should be, those kind of things. And then we begin to shift from me as a leader to how effective I am as a leader to reproduce other people within my life. Here's what I know. We teach what we know. We reproduce what we are. It takes a leader to know a leader. What I've observed is that leaders can pick out potential leaders better than non-leaders. Are you with me? Because they have an understanding of what it's like to be a leader. So it takes a leader to know a leader. Secondly, it takes a leader to show a leader. In other words, it takes a leader not only to be able to know one or define one, and so therefore the people that find potential leaders are leaders themselves, but it also takes one to model or to show or to be an example for another leader, because the greatest motivational principle in life is people do what people see. So if you're a leader, guess what? You can teach leadership to others. That's why it's impossible for non-leaders to raise up leaders. It's impossible for non-leaders to train leaders. A lot of times I'm asked the question that why is not leadership taught more in the educational, academic, college type of setting? And the reason I say that is because there aren't a lot of leaders there. And if you can teach a leadership course, but if you're not a leader, you can't reproduce leaders. It takes one to know one. It takes one to show one. And finally, it takes one to grow one. How do you grow potential leaders? By being one yourself. People do what people see. So in this law, I want to talk to you about reproducing leaders. I did a survey about 2 years ago that was very important. I was doing leadership conferences, and I asked leaders all over the country, I asked them this question. I said, what's the number one influence on your leadership life? In other words, if you could go back and say, I am a leader because, and fill out the blank, what would you say? 5% of the people that said, I am a leader because, said, I am a leader because of a crisis. In other words, something happened that somebody needed to lead, and they happened to be there, and because they had leadership intuitiveness and leadership leanings within them, they rose up, took the challenge, led, saw that they could lead, and pretty soon kind of became the leader of the pack. So about 5% said they became a leader because of a crisis. 10% said they became a leader because they had what they called natural leadership gifts. They had the leadership leanings that I'm talking about. Now here's what's interesting. 85% of the people that I talked to in the conference and did the survey with on how and why did you become a leader said, I became a leader because another leader put me under their wing and mentored me. In other words, they came into contact with another leader, which goes back to the law of reproduction, and the law of reproduction says it's an absolute fact that it takes a leader to reproduce a leader, it takes a leader to know a leader, it takes a leader to grow a leader, it takes a leader to show a leader, it takes all those things. Leaders beget leaders. Now, here's the question. If leaders beget leaders, then why is it that I have come to the conclusion that only about 5% of the leaders reproduce other leaders? Because I've watched this happen. I've seen leaders who never reproduce other leaders. What most leaders do is they just have followers. They lead and people follow. Why is it that so few leaders empower other leaders, reproduce other leaders, develop other leaders, raise people up higher than themselves? Well, there are several reasons. Number one is they're insecure. Again, insecurity keeps us from empowering people. Number two, they spend too much time with followers. They just spend way too much time with them. And a lot of times they spend time with them because, let me just stop here for a moment. You know what followers do versus lead? If you lead followers, they'll stroke your ego all the time. They'll tell you how good you are, and you'll believe that foolishness. You know what I mean? And they'll say, oh, I couldn't make it without you, and oh, you believe all that, you know. And followers just stroke your ego all day. Leaders won't do that. Leaders are restless. They're saying, you're doing a good job leading, but can we hurry it up a little bit more? And could we take on a bigger challenge? And when are we going to? Leaders following leaders, their main goal isn't to thrill you. Their main goal is progress and success. They want to get to the top. Thirdly, and this is so true, followers are easier to find and lead than leaders. Boy, isn't that the truth. One of the reasons we have so many followers is because we like it, because followers just follow. I mean, hut, 2, 3, 4, hut, 2, 3, 4. They just kind of get in line. You see, leaders, hey, they're hard to find. Oh, they're hard to find. They don't flock. Turkeys flock. Eagles don't flock. You've never gone outside and said, oh my goodness, I couldn't even see the sun today. There was just thousands of eagles just blocking the sun today. No. Eagles don't flock. Turkeys flock. They're hard to find. They're not only hard to find, they're hard to gather. When you find them, they're not waiting to join your team. One of the best advice I ever received in trying to recruit good people to my team was this advice. Find somebody that is already fulfilled in a job that they're doing with excellence and go after them. The person who wants a job, you don't want. The person who's looking for something is not the one you want. Hello. There's a reason why they're at the depot waiting for the train to come. Being available is not a qualification. So they're hard to find. When I say they're hard to gather, because when you ask a leader to join your team, they don't just say, oh, thank God, I've been waiting for a team to join. No, they ask questions. They say, where are you going? How long are you going to be there? What's it cost? Can I drive? They're hard to find, they're hard to gather, and they're hard to keep because they're restless. And if you're not going somewhere, as soon as the train slows down, they're off. It's very important in being able to reproduce leaders, by the way, that you be able to find potential leaders, because your greatest odds of reproducing a leader is to finding a potential leader. Think about it for a moment. If you got two people in your organization, one's a potential leader, they've got some potential leadership gifts, and the other person has no leadership gifts. Wow, you want to spend your time with the person that has potential leadership gifts. So you have to know how to see them. You got to know how to find them. You see, when I go to the airport, there are two kinds of people that pick me up. If they don't know who I am and they have never seen me before, there are two kinds of people that pick me up at the airport. The first kind of person, they just take a piece of paper and they put my name on top of it. And they stand somewhere where you deplane. They're standing over there on the other side of the hallway, and they got my name in the air. And they're just hoping I see their name. And they just got, they're talking to their buddy. They got their name in the air. The other day I was in the airport. Somebody said they had a name in the air. I didn't see my name in the air. I passed them, went right on to the hotel without them. They panicked, called me an hour later. Oh, you're here. Oh, thank God you're here. See, if all you do is stick a leader's name in the air and hope, you miss a lot of leaders. But there's another way to find leaders. Some people, when they come to the airport, they have one of my books. And they go to the back of the book, and it's got my picture. Hopefully it's a newer book. And they've got my picture. And you know what? They're by the line where the people are playing, and they got this picture of me. And they know what I look like because they got my picture. And everybody comes on playing, they're doing this number. You're John Maxwell. They come up and they shake my hand. How do you know I was John Maxwell? Well, it's very simple. It was easy to find you because I had a picture of what you look like. That's huge. You see, if you have a picture of what a leader looks like, you can find potential leaders. If you can find potential leaders, you increase your odds of reproducing potential leaders. Number 4, sometimes we don't develop other leaders because they fail to recognize the value of developing leaders. They've never realized the compounding value that if you develop leaders, you grow your company, your profit, your bottom line is bigger. Everything wins when you have leaders in your organization. Number 5, leadership has been viewed many times as a competitive effort and not a cooperative one. So many times we've looked at people and thought of them as competitors. And you know where I think we got that? I don't know, this is just me. I think we got that from when we were kids. How many of you when you were kids played the game Follow the Leader? Boy, I played that game. And you know what the goal of the leader was? The goal of the leader was to do things that the followers couldn't do so that the leader could stay the leader. So I grew up in a culture that said, if you're really good, people will never be as good as you. And therefore, you get a lead. And so therefore, I protected leadership by being able to do things that others couldn't do. And I think it puts within us a competitive nature that we don't even understand. And as we grow up, we carry that over into even the corporate world in our life of saying, I still got to be able to do things that other people can't do, so I'll establish myself as the leader.